5 p.m. I'd like to call regular work session of the City Council to order. We're going to go with item 2A, presentation regarding the Pflugerville Community Development Corporation, FY 25 fourth quarter financial reports.
Yes, good evening. So this is the fourth quarter report, final fiscal year 25 report. It is preliminary, as I stated in the summary, because we still have an audit to do, and there will be additional entries, so I always want to preface that. Sales tax, the main source of revenue for this fund, came in at 98% of budget. Pretty strong, considering we knew we were running a little bit behind. It's $224,000 short of our budget. This is an overview. I wanted to provide a comparison between the budget, the projections that we actually put in the budget book, and how we ended up actual, preliminary, of course. And so here it just kind of lays it out. Revenue, we projected 12.2, landed just a little under 12. Operating expenditures 9.3, landed at 8.8. Non-operating expenditures would be your capital expenditures, projected 10, ended at 7. And so the net ending position, we projected it to be more about 15 million. It's actually going to be a little over 18 million. So
That's a pretty sizable bill.
So
the majority of it was in
revenue
the
came in at
capital.
98% of budget. What were we projecting as a growth number over last year? Do you recall?
On the sales tax?
Yeah.
I believe we had 4%.
4%. It came in at about 3.8, 3.9. Okay.
We just came in a little below.
No, that's in line with what we've seen before, right there, which is a great estimate.
I mean, we have seen the last 2 months. They look pretty good, so we'll keep an eye on it for our fiscal 26 numbers. And then this slide just goes, compares a little bit more in detail to the subline items, budget to actual, personnel, operating, development agreements. And so the budget was 19.3, the actuals was 19.6. Obviously, the significant categories would have been the development agreements and the capital outlay.
So can you go back
Yeah.
one more slide? So, because in the packet, it said the net change was a positive 2.3 million. And this is saying a negative 4.2 million.
2.3 million compared to what? Like
This
what was
it says fiscal 25 year to date. So the total expenditures were 9.6. And that the net change was 2,270,366. That was on page 247 of the packet.
in the summary? I'll have to go back and look. These are the numbers preliminary. The only thing that'll change are a few audit entries.
Okay, so maybe cash portion of the 52 acres wasn't included in the financial statements in the packet?
Correct. Yes, you're talking about these financials.
Yes.
Yes. This was, I laid this out a little bit differently because it's what's going to give you your net positive, your net position. This will be changed because capital outlay in period 13, when we start preparing for the audit, gets moved up onto the balance sheet. So I wanted to make sure that you had a clear number for where we were actually going to end up net position. So it is a little bit different than the financial statements.
So the rationale being is that when the audit, because you said everything's final and pending the audit, you want to make sure that the audit, or these numbers that we present, was reflective of what will actually be attributed to the audit itself.
Right.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure we knew exactly where we landed in that position at the end of the year.
Cool.
Our next guest is anxious.
And then, in the financial statements in the packet, it was showing that other revenue was 24%.
Yeah, that is actually a year-end entry, so it'll be at the full 912 after we get to the final numbers.
Okay.
Yes.
And then for understanding, well, in the packet it has 24 actual, and the other revenue was 3.8 million last year, and then this year it said 691,000, but you're saying it's going to be the 912.
Correct.
What's the difference between the 2 years of why one was 3.8 million last year?
I'd have to go back and look at what was in the numbers from last year. If they sold any land or had any kind of transactions like that, that would be under other revenue.
Okay, that was a question I did submit in advance. So if when you get that information, if you could provide it.
What was the question?
Why is the 2025 budget amount so much lower than 2024 actuals for other revenue?
Oh, okay. I didn't see that in the questions, but I can get you that.
Okay, and I think my other question was why about fund balance, and I think that missing piece of the non-operating cost that is in this presentation that wasn't in here is the reason why, because the fund balance said it was 29 million and
So we can't use the fund balance number on a fund like this because you have to use the net position. It doesn't work the same as general fund where you can pull that fund balance and rely on it. Because it's a full accrual fund, we have to use the cash basis net position.
Okay, and then one of my questions, it was mentioned that there were several items that were under budget, and one was being carried over. And I just wanted to have an idea of like how much of the unspent funds were being carried over.
I mean, I don't think you ask about the budget amendment. I don't think there will be needed a budget amendment. When we built the 26 budget, we made the assumptions of kind of where we were with those capital projects. I mean,
Okay.
I guess at some point, if they exceed what we had put in the 26 budget, we would have to bring back a budget amendment.
Okay, so the comment was, it says community facilities budget was 1.6 million. Actuals equaled 37.5%. These funds are being carried over to the fiscal 26, and I assumed budget.
Okay.
I guess it just said fiscal 26. So is that being carried over, the community facilities budget?
We would have to bring a budget amendment to carry it over.
Okay, so it's not being carried over. From the community facilities budget, the statement.
Nothing is automatically carried over. So I have to bring a budget amendment in order to add it to fiscal 26. So if it needs to be added, I am bringing a budget amendment in January. And we will be identifying anything that needs to be carried over from 25.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if it was already being carried over or if it's being planned.
Nothing gets automatically carried over, so we have to do it through a budget amendment.
So just to be clear, based on the applicable process and procedures and the standards and guidance, if anything would actually need to be carried over from this year, it would actually have to be as a budgetary amendment. It wouldn't automatically occur.
Right.
Additionally speaking, the capital outlay, or as we talked about, what was the issues here, that makes up the substantive difference as to why there's such a significant delta
Right.
between what we saw regarding what is projected and what the actuals are.
Right.
And I'm assuming Executive Director Jones would be the person coming here if, in fact, he's looking for something else that he'd like to actually get done from that point, from a financial standpoint, that would be attributed to any budgetary needs or concerns.
Yeah,
right?
he would get with me.
Yeah.
And if I identified anything that needed to be included on the budget amendment, I would have that conversation with him.
Cool.
Okay, so but occasionally, or in the budget, we do identify some things that are going to be used from fund balance, like we did that for general fund. So
did.
for PCDC, we have not already, we did not.
Well, we did. The fiscal 26 budget has more expenditures than revenue. We have already identified that we would be using fund balance.
Okay, but this line item is not included in that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
And that was that was related to community grant, some kind of community grant.
Community facilities budget, it says was.
Correct. Yes. We didn't get that.
I guess I'm not sure, really clear on what community facilities budget is. Like, what is community facilities?
It was funds put in their budget last year to fund requests, and the city has made a request, but it didn't get processed before 9:30, and so that's why that money has to be carried over so that we can. Their board approved it, but we're going to have to pay it out in 26.
Okay, so that is something in process that will
Yes.
be carried over as a
Right.
budget amendment.
And
I'll have to bring it back.
and
to the budget.
correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy. And as Emily watches and laughs, that's Wells Point Park.
Wells Point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was something that we had voted on, but it hasn't. It wasn't brought.
There was just,
done.
yeah,
Yeah,
a
we
time.
hadn't approved yet.
We didn't
time-wise.
quite get it closed out by 9:30, so we will have to carry that
But
over.
that will happen early in the year with that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Councilman Rogers, you got any questions?
No. As usual, on these financial measures, I defer to Councilwoman Ryan almost in the entirety.
I was about to say, we have Councilmember Kaufman here too. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm good on this.
Okay. Councilmember Ruiz?
No, I did my homework beforehand.
Okay. And I think that great presentation. I think we got to the slide, the part where we asked for questions, and with this council, it never works. So thank you for answering the hot bench over here. I
Yes,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we got item 2B, presentation regarding the Pflugerville Animal Welfare Services Department. Rhonda, you're up, and I'm not gonna lie, I wish everybody on camera could see why we were laughing so hard.
Well, pardon the drool.
That dog is just like my dog, only bigger.
I wanted to make sure I brought a really super friendly dog, but he
A
loves
super
hard.
friendly dog, and happy to roll over and get belly rubs.
Yes, he would.
My house is not big enough for another dog, but thank you for the invitation.
Well, good evening, Council, Mayor, Pro Tem. We are ready to go. I'm bringing to you our annual update on the shelter. Wanted to start off with our intakes and outcomes for this past fiscal year. We had 840 intakes. That's pretty stable from last year. 803 outcomes. That's less than last year, unfortunately, which means we had more animals still at the shelter at the beginning of the fiscal year. But our numbers are starting to come down. Adoptions are picking up. It's been a slower than normal fall season, but our numbers have come down some where we're comfortable again. We had 527 adoptions, 189 returned to owner. That's animals that were actually impounded and brought to the shelter. 20 transferred to rescue. That's incredibly tiny, but it's the state of things post-COVID. TNR is cats that were feral cats, community cats that are not adoptable, that were turned into the shelter or trapped and trapped, neutered, released back to the community in the areas that they had come from. And then our notable achievements, we had a 96.57% live release rate. That means of all incoming animals that left the shelter, what percentage left alive. We try and stay above 95%. We have successfully done that for, I want to say, 12 of the 13 years I've been here. 39.22% of stray dogs that were impounded at the shelter were returned to owner. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's, according to other agencies, it's an astonishing number to them. Austin's stray dogs returned to owner is 7%.
So
What's
the industry standard?
Much less than 20. Less than 20%. Cats are usually about 2% are returned to owner. Not many cats are reclaimed by their owners. People don't think that they come to the shelter. But ours, I want to say, well, I think we're going to, we have a combined return to owner for cats and our TNR. 21% were return to owner, and that's also an astonishing number to other agencies. We work really very hard in the shelter, and our officers work very hard as well, trying to make sure that animals are returned to owner and as soon as possible. Many are microchipped, but not all that come in, and a lot of those microchips are not updated, so we have to kind of track down owners.
Well, Rhonda, before you go on, I'd like to say that live release rate of 96.96.5, that is very commendable to you. I'd like to commend you and your staff. That is amazing, and I love that number.
Thank you.
Shows
It's
your hard work.
important to us to save as many as we can, but also be very responsible in making sure we're releasing, animals that are safe, that we're adopting out to. So we work hard for that, but also taking into account our community safety.
Can you go back one slide
Sure.
from this? So we had 0 died in care. That's as good as the number could possibly get. We did have to euthanize 27. Can you tell us a little bit
Sure.
about what the
So
decision-making process
about
is
half of
there?
that number was medical euthanasia. Some of them were animals that were loaded with tumors or weak and couldn't stand when they came in. We had several cats that had heart disease, kidney failure, hit by car animals that had been seriously injured and could not be saved. Those still, even though they often make a trip from our truck straight to the vet, they're still considered an intake for our shelter, so those count in those numbers. I want to say maybe 11 were dogs, and probably, or that were, I want to say 11, but I may be wrong on that. I didn't bring my full set of numbers. Less than half of that number were behavior euthanasia. Some of them were court-ordered for dangerous dog, for serious bodily injury to other people, and then part of them were dogs that came into the shelter as strays that were not safe for our staff and our volunteers to handle, even to move to adoption. So that's what I'm talking about, trying to make sure we're keeping the community safe, that if they're not safe for us to handle, and some of these come in for quarantine, and occasionally we'll have something that's not reclaimed and it'll have an extensive bite history. We don't want to put that back out in our community when an owner doesn't come forward. So most of these are
the court orders for the destruction of dogs. That's a relatively new procedure. Is that correct?
No. The state has had that law for 15, maybe 20 years for dangerous dog. But the law says, for Pflugerville, if your dog is declared dangerous by the court, you have 30 days to comply with the dangerous dog order, which means they have to have $100,000 insurance, liability insurance on the animal. They have to have a registration once a year for $50. They have to have a secure enclosure. Many of the people that choose to keep them use their home as the secure enclosure where the dog stays inside, and it's only allowed out on leash in control of the owner. And then they have to have dangerous dog signage up. Occasionally we will have owners that don't comply with they don't get the insurance or whatever they're needing to take care of. They didn't meet that requirement. And so the court orders, once they don't comply with that those animals be euthanized.
And those orders come from the county court or the district
Municipal court, our
They
municipal
come
court.
from our municipal
Yes.
court. Okay.
I do also, related to behavior and your positive outcomes here, I love that especially with dogs that may have some behavioral issues, that you've got partnership to do training and to get them to a place where they're even more adoptable.
So we do most of our training through Star Mark Academy, and they really don't want bite history dogs, but the behavior issues are often super rowdy dogs that super lovable but rowdy, don't have any manners, hard to handle, and they do that training. We do have an occasional trainer that'll come out and work with some of the dogs that are a little bit more intense, but we don't have any dedicated trainers or rescues any longer that pull the serious behavior cases.
Got it.
Field response. We had 2,642 activities. That's pretty close to last year's as well. 335 impounds. 294 return to owner in the fields. That's in addition to the 335 that were impounded. 294 additional were found by the officer, located the owner or the residents, returned them home, didn't have to have a shelter trip.
Wow, that's
46, almost 47%. Our officers work very hard trying to keep animals at their homes, and they'll knock on doors, they'll talk to people and find out if anybody recognizes the animal, and if it's microchipped, they're often able to return it home. And occasionally, well, with some of our officers, very good at it, they recognize dogs like that they've dealt with before, and they'll be able to go have a conversation with the owner site when necessary. The photos up there are one of our officers got called out on a dog that was out in a construction site where residences were being built, but none were lived in. The dog had been hanging around for a couple of weeks. They named her Tunnel, but they had to coax her out of the tunnel here, brought her to the shelter. She was adopted last week, finally.
awesome.
She came to us in the fall, though, and good work our officers do out there, and we appreciate them.
You talked several times about the microchips. Do you have any sense of what the percentage of animals that come to you are microchipped when they arrive?
Not nearly enough, because we end up purchasing
The dog on Little Rascal.
more than 500 microchips a year, and of course 750 be used in a year sometimes. I would say half probably are not chipped. They are chipped once they come to the shelter, and that's one of the ordinances that went in that they're required to be chipped when they're released. But yeah, we still unfortunately have a good number. Often those are the ones that aren't spayed or neutered and running around, so they get their microchip then.
Do you all end up seeing a pretty sizable number of repeat offenders, or is that a pretty minor?
Very small number, but the ones that are repeat offenders, it's usually more than twice, yes.
More than twice.
Y'all approved in last year's budget a new cargo van for us, and that is it. We do transports to, instead of taking a couple of dogs at a time to Star Mark, we're able to load up 8 or 9 and haul over there. Larger trips to the vets when we have numerous animals. We also are using this for a mobile pet pantry. We've had our Pickets and Paws program for years that people came to the shelter to get supplies. We've been utilizing this when we have an overabundance of food or things, pet items that were donated that more than we can store or use. We've taken out in the community to some of our senior living centers and other locations to let people have supplies for free. We still have a lot of people coming to the shelter every month, this year more than ever, needing pet food and sometimes other pet supplies. But we're enjoying getting to take that around and make people's lives a little easier when those seniors don't have transportation and they're in these senior living communities. It's a benefit for them to bring that out there. Our friends of Pflugerville Animal Shelter, they are, I believe, on year 9, and they received $45,000 in donations and fundraised this year. When I did this, they had about $20,000 in medical expenses, but that's just gone up about $3,000. So they're probably going to end the year about $24,000 that they've spent on medical for our animals and enrichment things for the shelter. The dog in the photo is one that came in with a broken leg and had to have several trips to the vet for cast changes. But they are a very vital and important part of our operation. Without them, we would not be able to save near as many animals because our budget cannot, our citizens can't pay what this group pays for medical costs. And this is beyond spay-neuter costs. This is, we've had several dentals, entropion surgeries where they had their eyelids that were making them go blind, that they had to roll the eyelids back out, some tumor removals, amputations and eye removals for severely damaged eyes that they've paid for just in the last 2 or 3 months. So they're very important to us and do really good work for our shelter, and they're the only group that solely exists to support our shelter.
Well, Rhonda, I'm glad you brought them up because for a call from luncheon today from the chamber, they're one of the people who are being recognized for their good work in the community. So it's great to hear you attesting to the fact that we can't do what we do here if not for their support.
That's right. Happenings. Of course, we have our annual trunk or treat every year, so that's a photo from trunk or treat. We had our very first targeted microchip clinic this year, or this past fiscal year, as promised in our goals, where we were going to try and offer some free microchips to people in the community. And then we continue our education program where our officers
picking up
and
a
staff
snake?
go in. So it's a fake snake.
Okay.
Fake snake, real tongs.
I see the kid like right there. Like,
Yeah.
We do have the shelter little snake, but we wouldn't put her through that. So, yeah. So we do the education programs
You're already freaking out.
in the schools and at other organizations when they request us.
Can you tell us the approximate cost to get a pet microchipped on your own?
It depends on where you go. Probably a regular vet, a full service vet, I would think is probably $50 to $75 to get it done. Emancipet does low cost for $20, but they don't register the microchip. That's just purchase and implant the microchip. Occasionally, you'll see microchip clinics out in the community that are $15 to $20 to do it. Sometimes they register and sometimes they don't. That's a real problem for us. Like Austin implants chips, but they don't register them, and we get so many dogs we have to track.
what's
Is
the
there
was
a
never
point
registered.
of microchipping them and not
So you can find out who the implant facility was, potentially, or at least who purchased the microchip. But a chip is meant to have owner information attached to it and contact information. So it's very important for people to keep their chips updated.
Yeah, because it seems like that is effective with your 39% return.
It
to owner
absolutely
because
is.
You could, and so more can be returned to owner.
That's part of our goal with our microchipping clinic. That's targeting areas that we have more at-large calls in, and trying to make sure that animals in that area where people may not be able to afford to go get the animal implanted, we can chip it for free, and then we can get it home next time to where it's not having to come into the shelter. This coming Saturday is Pet Pictures with Santa. This is one of our volunteers' husbands and comes every year. And it'll be 10 a.m. to noon at the Best Little Plaza in Texas on our main street. And we'd love y'all to come out. It's for Pet Pictures with Santa, not Family Pictures with Santa. So bring your pet. You can stand behind your pet in the photo, but Santa wants to hold the animals. All right, and that's our contact information. That's everything I've got for y'all. We've had a successful year, and we thank y'all for your support as always.
Well, Rhonda, you always do an excellent job. We appreciate it. We hope as the city grows, we can continue to help support what you're doing here, because I know that at times there have been some interesting austerity measures that have been applied here, but hopefully more and more we keep the growth and support for y'all right there.
Thank you.
Right there. Councilman Rogers, do you have any questions?
No, I'd like to know where I can get a cape like that for my dog. But other than that, I'm good. And I hope that the dog that you had here earlier gets adopted.
I can
soon.
bring him back and let him climb all over
Hey,
y'all.
it's just like my dog, only twice as big. And I love those dogs, and I mean, so friendly, and that dog. The only reason anybody wouldn't like that dog is if they don't like lots of kisses from a dog.
Correct.
Because that is a very, very friendly dog, and I love that breed. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
I think you get.
His
You'll
name's
get some calls
Bueno,
on that
in case
dog.
you know somebody looking.
Bueno, that works. Councilman Ryan?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Councilman Hoffman?
I did just want to say that I think it's wonderful how dedicated your volunteers are as well. Walking the dogs,
They
and
are
helping to get
just
them
as important to
adopted.
us as our friends of the shelter is. I mean, we could not do our jobs without them. It takes all of us really working together as a team to accomplish all that we do.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Thank you.
Councilman
Thank you.
Ruiz?
You know, actually, to your point, that's a good point. I don't know if there's any tracking of volunteers if they do
We do.
hours, but publicizing that and
3,800 hours for this past year.
Wow.
so almost 2 full-time employees.
That's correct.
Awesome. Well, that's great that there's so much support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. Appreciate it. As our tradition is, I want to recognize our council member out there. Doug Weiss is out in the audience. Thank you for attending. We know all too well how much hard work and dedication it does to take this job, so it's always great to have folks over here with that. Item 2C, executive session. I guess we can hear how Bueno's very happy out there. Executive session item, consultation with legal counsel pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code regarding the Department of Transportation Americans with Disabilities Act standards for accessible design. We are now in executive session. It's okay.
Should we ask them to, should we ask you how many you're gonna pull? So we kind of have an idea.
5, 7, I don't know, some odd number.
All of them?
Some odd number.
No, not all of them.
We are back from the executive session and no action was taken. I'd like to adjourn the work session. See you guys at 7.
Boom.